Hey everyone, hope you're all doing good. So today's video is going to be covering the Three of Wands and the Four of Wands from the Minor Arcana. So I'm going to go and explain about the Three of Wands and what it means. So the Three of Wands signifies when you're dealing with issues pertaining to expanding your horizons. Like sometimes when you get the Three of Wands, that would mean that you're thinking about something that has to do with overseas. Every time I get the Three of Wands, I always see that the person that I read for has something to do with, more like overseas issue. For instance, like if I'm reading for their love life, this is saying perhaps their partner is long distance. And interestingly enough, when I do these readings, a lot of times you'll find, and it's funny because it shows the figure looking out over the ocean. A lot of times it does mean that the person is over a great land of water. So like if for example, I did a reading once for a family member of mine, and I saw this card come up, and I knew that the way this person would be able to find another partner would be to expand his horizons and look for somebody outside of the country. And lo and behold, when the time came, he found somebody. He found somebody from the other continent. I'm from the U.S. This lady was from Australia. So when that happened, I thought, okay, so there's something to the Three of Wands always having to do with something, across the ocean, and so that's one way to look at it. Another way to look at the Three of Wands is about taking a leadership role. That's another angle to the Three of Wands. So in love, it means expanding your horizons. It really all depends what you're truly asking about. For instance, if you want to know what you should do in a relationship, well, depending on what kind of cards you have and what you want to know, that's the only real way to narrow what this card could mean, what it's really trying to advise. So, example, you want to know what to do about a partner who you're having some troubles with. The Three of Wands could be saying, okay, maybe it's time to just look and expand your horizons and move on. See what's out there. There's other fish in the sea. And if you don't want to leave this person, say it's not that troubling. For instance, if there's not that many problems in the relationship to where you don't feel you need to leave per se, but you still have some issues and you would like to work on them, the Three of Wands can mean, it means having to take the leadership role. So taking the bull by the horns. Maybe your partner is lost and you just need to guide them. So there's a difference between knowing what when and what advice is most important. So it all depends. It all boils down to what question is being asked. So in other words, okay, should I stay or should I go? If it's that kind of question, this is saying go. Just move on. There's other people out there. If you're asking, what should I specifically do? I don't want to leave. What can I do? This is saying, okay, take on a more leadership approach. So a lot of times the definition of a card really all depends on what the questioner's asking too. So take take that into consideration, you know, before you decide, okay, this card means this or that. Sometimes what it all just really boils down to is what the person's asking and what they want to know, because it could mean something completely different again. So yeah, so if you look at this card, it definitely has a lot to do with exploration and foresight. You know, uh, you should really look ahead. And another thing about the Three of Wands, it means planning. You know, you want to plan something out before doing it. I want to make a little comparison here. If you compare the Three of Wands to the Fool is shown, you know, very, you know, he's a little hasty. He's a little reckless, right? He's, you know, as in my interpretation meanings that I covered for the Fool, he doesn't exactly know where he's going. You know, I'm gonna compare the two. He doesn't really know where he's going. He's just, you know, looking up and is just ready to take off, and doesn't see that there's a cliff. You know, he can get hurt. But that's because he's still like a baby. You know, it is the first. It's number 0. It's the first card in the minor arcana. But the Three of Wands, on the other hand, you know, it's a more mature man. He's probably got a lot of business knowledge under his belt, and he knows, you know, what he's doing, and so he's waiting for his ships to come in. You know, this card has, you know, covers a lot of ground. It's a very broad, you know, card. It has to do with waiting for your ships to come in, you know, planning things out. So if, say, someone asks, okay, what's going to happen with my business? How's it going to turn out? Normally, I see this card to mean that it will take off very well. You might even think about outsourcing, because it does have to do with, you know, an overseas angle. Maybe a lot of clients will come from overseas, so you have to incorporate that. And for advice, if someone asks about advice pertaining to their business, then it means that you should really plan things out ahead. And this is more coming from the angle of planning out the idea, and not so much, it's not like, say, the Three of Pentacles way of planning out, because both cards mean planning, but it's about planning out in the sense of just talking about it, you know, getting the idea, you know, getting it up here, getting it organized, you know, as the idea, the big idea. Okay. You know, don't, it's not saying you have to do anything just yet, but just kind of get it a little organized in your mind, per se, and see if it's really possible that it could happen. The Three of Pentacles is a more advanced step of that, you know what I mean? So yes, this is still just an idea, so just remember that. And okay, so that's what I, oh, and for the financial part, okay, so you always have to incorporate the key points into whatever you're asking about. So if the Three of Wands has to do with leadership and planning and, you know, thinking ahead, well, financially, you know, I feel this card is saying you'll do good, but it doesn't really have much to do with money, other than to tell you you should plan. You should plan out your finances. Think ahead, you know, with money. Don't take don't leave things to the last minute. Really do your planning and your homework. Okay, so that's what I get for the Three of Wands. And now we're going to go on to the Four of Wands. And okay, so the Four of Wands is a really happy card. I mean, obviously they're very excited. They have you know, they have a castle behind them, and, you know, it looks like there's a party going on, right? So okay, this card signifies a foundation. because it's a 4. Number 4 signifies foundations. And you've, what happened after the 3 of Wands? It's when you successfully complete the next step. So finding that you can do what it is that you want to do, you're reaching the 4 of Wands. You've now reached the 4 of Wands stop, meaning you have the foundation now to work up. Okay, so that's a good thing. That means that you have all the elements together now to go further, so the 4 of Wands really is about, it's a even number, right? It takes 4 walls to make a house, so it's like that kind of idea. You have the foundation to work up. And so this pertains a lot with security. It is a wand, so wands usually don't have much to do with security, but because it's a 4, that's where the security part of it comes in. Your idea is secure. You can you can build up from this point on. And so now from the business side of it, it's pretty easy to know what it means. You've worked hard, or you have the idea to take this to really take this idea and launch it. So I would say, this card also has to do a lot with rewards for your efforts, because a lot of the hard part is, coming up with your idea. So the 4 of Wands really does just reflect. It's still reflecting on the accomplishment through finding a good idea, because as in business, it's when people get credit for coming up with a great idea, not not always so much all the hard work. There's got to be a balance there. So this is when you're rewarded for the hard work of coming up with a great idea. So now in matters of love, the 4 of Wands, it's kind of obvious with the picture. What does it mean when you have like a ritual and you have a party, probably an engagement or a wedding ceremony? So if you're asking about what will happen between you and another, a lot of times this card means that you're gonna get married, and this could be a snapshot of the wedding ceremony, the wedding party. And if you're not ready yet for marriage, it could just say that it's an exciting, encounter. A lot of good chemistry. This is just a very exciting, happy card. It signifies for better times to come. You've reached that milestone, in other words, to get to a better place. So again, that goes back to what I just said. When you come up with a great idea and you have the foundation, that leads for better things to come. So that it really is, if you think about it, it does make sense. It makes sense that it's an even number, it's secure, it's balanced, it's a very pleasing card to see. And in financial matters, okay, you've experienced some freedom. As you know, this card not only means security, but freedom as well. So this is, in other words, financial freedom. Having to splurge a bit, spending money a little bit on yourself instead of on bills and rent and mortgage or whatever, having more than enough. So it's a card that's very happy in every sense that you could think of. Now let's see if there's anything else I need to cover. So we got the career aspect of it. Yeah, I kind of tie that in with business. So if you're looking at it from a career business standpoint, you're pretty much secure and happy. Don't forget the emotional side of it, happy. But if you are thinking of love, it means that it's a good promising card of possibly marriage. And And if you're seeing it from a financial standpoint, this means financial freedom. So, but then again, you know, like always consider what cards are around it. You know, I mean, if this fell in the past position, it means it happened already. If it falls in the future, it means it's gonna happen. You know, you look at it from you know what position it is and what cards are surrounding it. You know, um, it might add or take away from the excitement of this card. You know, like they say, the card surrounding it gives it some, you know, some shading. You know what I mean? It kind of gives some shading to this card even more. So, but just by itself, yes, it means happiness and freedom. Okay, so hopefully, you know, when I get to my other videos where I actually do, when I do sample spreads, when this card appears, I can give a little more uh, guidance and you know, clarify a little more how to use it in context to a reading. So okay, so that's my video, and hope you guys enjoyed it. If you have any questions, feel free to ask me or go on to my website at stellartarot.com. Okay, bye.